Okay. I'm just going, we're live on this stream, but you guys can chat amongst yourselves and introduce yourselves. Sorry to do that to you, but I don't see my stream up on the YouTube there. So we might, I'm having problems, which always happens. So apologise for that. We are up on other streams, so people will be hearing us. So I will introduce you, but I'll shoot off. I'll let you guys have a bit of a chat. And the YouTube stream's not going out, which is one of the problems when you don't have a producer. I keep saying that every week. I need someone sitting in a chair in another room. So with COVID, it hasn't been too good. But thanks everyone for joining us tonight on People with a Passion's live streaming with friends. Today we are joined by CJ Bruton. Actually, I'll go Cal Bruton, Cal Bruton Senior, and CJ Bruton. So welcome welcome to the show, guys.
Thank you, Craig.
Thanks for having us.
No worries. Appreciate it. So every week I have issues with tech, and Fanfare throws it out at me. So he'll have fun with this one. But I did tell it to go live, but it's not showing up on the channel. But we are on Facebook, we are on Twitter, we are on Twitch right now. So if you are joining us on those streams, then please make sure you start a watch party and share it with your friends. And I'm just Fanfare actually asked me. Yeah, I don't know. I can't read. He's already got some questions. So, thanks for being here. If you're joining us tonight, I would ask you guys to start a watch party if you're on Facebook. The way you do that is by looking at the video on People with a Passion. You can then share it to your own page and start a watch party, or you can just watch the stream on People with a Passion. And if your family members or friends will be throwing to the streams that Cal and CJ have. So CJ and Cal, have you managed to find the video and share it?
Not me. I already told enough people already.
That's all right. So
we live. I see we live. Yep.
Yeah. So good. So you've got yours up. So at any stage, Cal, if you need to call in help, call in the brigade, the youth brigade. So.
My son is already tired of me. He's been here 3 times already.
So yeah, you're throwing all the devices, trying to make sure everything works. But I'm one of the people that with tech, I'm trying to go to 4 platforms. So one doesn't work and we're live. It doesn't look good, but people aren't paying, so it's not a big problem. So how are you guys going? What have you been doing? Actually, I'll start with Cal, you with your basketball, because with your academy stuff, what have you been able to do with athletes and that? Have you actually been working with any athletes?
No, I haven't. It's been a real quiet period for myself. I recently had a total hip replacement back in December. And then, of course, we had fires here in Canberra, and then that shut everything down for a while. And, of course, I went to Tasmania to start recording some online videos and with a company called Ludus, and looking at trying to produce that in a bigger way, so that once the last dance came about, we started switching our priorities and thinking about myself doing a last dance in Australia, my career and the family and all. So that's what I'm working on at the moment. But as far as the basketball side of it, I got 2 young boys here at home, 16 and 13. And I'm just trying to work them out as much as possible so that they can step back into the local scene once they're allowed and have a go. But CJ is doing a lot more than I do, because he's already teched up, and he's got his young boy, Rio, and they be on the job day in and day out.
Yeah, so CJ, what have you been keeping busy doing? Obviously some basketball, but what are your days involving?
Yeah, a little bit. Well, really when it all hit, it's that part of trying to get out and about a little bit to get some exercise, and we had an empty lot that was next door to us for a little bit, so I used to take my son across there and get him to do a few different things and see what he can do. And when you're playing out on some rocks or some dirt, you ain't got that grip, and so he's kind of getting frustrated, and have to just remind him that there's some kids that don't even have a hoop, let alone have a place to go outside and go bounce the ball. And you've got a hoop, you missed a few shots, I can see you getting frustrated. We can either go back inside, or you can take this experience as fun as it is and enjoy the moment that we have right now. One, us two together. Two, you doing what you want to do and being outside and shooting hoops. It's all added bonus. So we did that for a little bit. The Bullets, obviously with coronavirus all around the NBL and the league and the world, it's, you know, everyone had to take different routes, and for us it was we had a chance to make an impact. And Greg, our community, Greg Vanderjack, that everyone knows out there in the basketball world, yeah, he put together a good platform, and I went over to a friend's house and did a shoot, and obviously it's on the stream with the Bullets webpage, which is awesome, and got to do it with my son. So, you know, in a span of a few hours, I put a few drills together and talk over the top and watch him do it and see where he's at right now, and people commenting on how much he's grown and how he's improved, and that's a good thing to do. It's good to see the family out there and doing stuff together and still promoting the game and having the love and the passion for it as well.
Yeah, so one of your colleagues has joined in the chat, so Sean Connolly's joined, and shout out to Sean. So
big shout out.
Shout out Sean.
He's in that community sector, so, you know, promoting to not only the schools but the junior basketball, and he's had a lot to do with it, with all the junior ranks, especially at the Capitals, but in the state sector as well. And, you know, his love and passion for running a club team as well, and just pushing forward, you know, that goodwill of getting teams together, and the passion that you have as joining a team, obviously wanting to win. He's like anyone, he's competitive as ever. In the early mornings, he will still come to Bullets practices and get in a workout with Sam McKinnon as I pull up with my bag and walk in like, you know what, I ain't playing like that no more, but I can still get down. He's out there shooting hoops, and Sam's trying to wear everyone out from our development players to anyone that will walk in that gym.
Yeah,
and he's also given a little connection with the old fellas, you know, through his Bullets all-time starting five. Although I didn't get a guarantee again. but it's just the way. I feel like Sam Jones and John Havlicek, you know, from the old school. So these kids weren't even born. I can't get no votes.
So
I'll give you a hug though when I see you.
I can't wait for it, Doc. I look forward to it.
So Shakira's shouting out and saying, "Hi, Dad. Hi, CJ."
What up, sis?
What up there, my daughter? Yeah, my one and only. Yeah, she's beautiful. She's I must give a shout out to my whole family. You know, CJ, obviously everyone knows with the work he does, but my oldest, who's my stepson, but he's been a part of my family from 18 months old, and I love him to death. He's doing his work in Tyree.
Hey, Cal, I'm going to, while you do your shout-outs, both of you going to do shout-outs, I'm going to go see if I can get this live stream going, so keep going, bro.
Okay.
Thanks.
Well, Tyree Tornadoes, LA is working with them, with their young juniors coming up, as well as the PCYC. Austin's over in the West, working with disadvantaged kids and getting jobs and employment opportunities for them and coaching in the junior ranks. And then I got Shakira, who's in social work, working with young kids in the hospital now. She's been amazing, going to her second year in university at Australian Catholic Uni. So really proud of her. And then I got the two rat bags here that are doing online studying and giving me grief, Doc. I don't know how your crew's doing, but shoot, I got my 5 grandkids plus 4 step grands. Shoot, I feel like I'm busy.
You know, you're always going to stay busy, but that's what you've always been. Great, right? Like the love that is in our family and the laughs that we have every day, it's about enjoying each moment, right? From what we have with each other when we're with our own families and we're still connected. And obviously you and Mom have done a great job with Elliot and Austin and myself, and, you know, to be able to pave the way, you know, with Shakira and the crew now, it's like, Julie's been amazing. You know, the way she's been, you know, carrying that fort behind you and keep for you to keep striving. But we're all connected, and that's the beauty of online and what everyone has now, and everyone's using. You know, from the Zoom to the webinars to their phone calls, their cell phone bills have gone up.
Tell me about it. And, you know, at that virtual birthday party that Rio had. You know, we had everybody connected. So yeah, that's the beauty. I'm so proud of you guys, you know, and everyone, I'm sure, proud of their families, but I don't think anyone could be any prouder than I am. Coming over here with just your mom and two little ones, and now with the last get together we had, it was like 18 of us. You know, it's like, yeah, we grown in that 41 years. You know, but it's been such a blessing, and the basketball has been such a vehicle for us. You know, we've traveled this whole country, you know, delivering basketball programs. You know, obviously, you starting out as a floor wiper, coming over here at 4 years of age, you know, love to be a towel boy and tell me to pull up my socks during the course of the game. You know, I said, man, just get the sweat, will you? You know.
Hey, you gotta take detail. It's detail, and taking notes.
You
Go
can
for the
start.
game.
That's it. And then, you know, having to move houses, you know, pack up. It was almost like a regular occurrence, you know, from, you know, Geelong to Brisbane and Brisbane to Perth. And, yeah, your mom's been a wonderful person in that regard, because she was so much a staunch supporter of what I was trying to do. And yeah, it's a blessing to this day that we still all have all that connection.
Yeah. We've definitely been blessed in that space, and I think, you know, families today, there's a family that does really well, and there's always a family that's struggling, and there's always, you know, the family that's wanting to do more. And I think from our standpoint, is no one's bigger, you're not as important as the person that doesn't have anything, and to be able to give to the game the same way, the way that you know, you always say dress, you know, you got to dress the right way and be sharp and be smooth, and, you know, and carry yourself when you go out in public the right way. And I felt like from a young age, you know, from getting that nappy hair to, you know, not having a barber out here to, you know, like, come on, Pop, like, hey, who cut my hair? The first time you cut it, I was looking like this, you know. The tears that rolled down my face that day was like, you know, you ain't never like taking me to that barber ever.
I know, right? And the same with these two dudes over here. They don't let me cut their hair no more. Although Brooklyn gave me a chance to fade them out on the side, you know, but I didn't want to mess that up. But yeah, you know, I tried to braid Shakira's hair. I had a little problem there. You know, her stuff is thick and long, you know, but I tried. You know, I tried. But yeah, Craig, the journey for us Brutons, you know, for me coming out here in 1979, but I was coming off a trash truck, you know, in the winter of Wichita, Kansas, where CJ and Elliot was born. And it was minus 30 degrees, and my truck broke down in the dump. And I had to walk home, and the boys peeled my clothes off me. And the next day I had to go back out, and they would say, "Oh, can we go, Dad?" And so they both hopped in the cabin with me. I was in the car. We went to get my truck, jumped with the boss, and then bang, we're on the road. And with the wife, and she's driving, I'm picking up the trash, and these dudes are taking off the lids and putting on the lids. And they had a ball. They jogging through the snow. It's 3 feet of snow. But you know what? That trash was my cash. I had to get it. And then before you know it, I get a chance to change that all up and bring myself to Australia to set the path for the opportunity to bring them all back together.
It's
talk about let them know about what your mindset was every time, you know, like working as a trash man. Like, it's not one of those jobs that everyone's like, well, I want to put my hand up to go be that. But no job is bigger than what, you know, we're all gifted in many ways, but nothing separates you. But how your mindset is to get that trash and go put it in, and to keep that mindset ticking over. Because a lot of people, when you talk about sports in general, you know, you just heard Michael Jordan talk about that mindset, that focus that he had. Like, what is it? How do you keep that when you're dumping each lid and running to the next spot?
It was a somber experience, because I knew that I had a family now. I jumped in, you know, and I had to support my family. So that chance to do that came quickly on that trash truck. And I looked at it, as I mentioned, that trash was my cash. I had to go get it every day, 250 stops on my own. And that gave me the strength, you know, to feel that if I can get this done, I can just about do anything, you know, because I even brought out one of my little young players, Boozer from the U.S. to come and join me so I can help him. And basically, he couldn't handle it. Within 2 weeks, he's going back. So I was on that trash truck. And that, to me, gave me the chance that, I'm going to try with an NBA team. I still had that dream, and I would play every afternoon, and I would go to university in the morning to finish my degree. And I always felt, because my dad only had one hand, and he was a mechanic, and he never let any car outwhip him. He had a magnetic glove. He can get his tools. And my mom, when I used to crawl her, she said, "Get him out. I don't want him being that grease monkey. Get him out from underneath that car," And I basically was shielded from that, but I watched him the whole time. And that gave me the courage to say, you know what? If my dad can do that, and I only had him for 7 years, then I got to be that guy. And as soon as my mom told me that I was that guy for her and my 2 younger sisters, I was on a mission, Doc. And then you came along. I was like, Dad, I got to get busy now.
There's a lot more to it now.
It's I know I love CJ's ability to tell stories, and I've just discovered where he's got that ability. He has one of the absolute amazing ability to tell a story, and I can see where he gets it from. So that's amazing. And to talk about work ethic and that whole thing, of having a role as a trash collector. The fact in life is every job's important, otherwise it wouldn't exist. And a lot of people think they're above those tasks and those jobs, but the fact is the only thing I have an issue with, and a lot of people do, is it seems like the world's flipped on its head when it comes to remuneration, that some of the most important jobs in the world are paid the least. So, yeah. So you guys have an amazing basketball journey. Obviously, I think, Cal, you had something like 250 games. At least that's what Wikipedia said, unless you played some extra NBL games.
No, I didn't.
Swap with CJ.
I would have paid, 250 NBL games was 1,000 games in Victoria back then.
In today's world.
Yeah.
I was playing. You played VBA games in the midweek. You living in Victoria. You got a game Wednesday, you training during the week. So those games, and then off season, you're playing the summer season. So yeah, I played thousands of games, and it started with Dave Atkins. He was the guy that ignited my fire, gave me the opportunity, and he created so many for others as well.
So I've got a question for you, because I don't know the answer, and I'm too lazy to research it, so you might be able to tell me. But you played 2 teams in the NBL. Are there any other coaches that have played?
3 teams.
3 teams, sorry, yeah. Are there any other coach players in the NBL? And you won, did you win both too as coach player, or just one?
I won not an NBL championship. I won back-to-back Victorian Basketball Association championships.
Okay.
As a player coach. So my first playing coaching job was in Geelong in 1982. 3-4 games into the NBL season. Then my second coaching job was in Perth from 1987, pretty much the end of 86 to 1980, end of 88. And then Hobart, I was a player coach in Tasmania. And the Geelong job was I never coached a professional team before, of course, and they decided that the coach Tim Kaiser that was there wasn't going to be able to get the job done the way they wanted to. They called a meeting at practice. They called each of us in and asked us one question: do you think we have the team that can win the championship? And everybody said yeah. And that was our first year in the NBL, so everyone was kind of reaching. But Tim Kaiser went in and said, no, we don't. And at that time, he wanted to get rid of James Crawford because James had suffered a terrific injury, and they wanted him, to rehabilitate himself fully before, we embarked on this season. And they didn't think he can carry it. I said yes, and they came back to call me in the meeting and said they just let Tim Kaiser go, and I was going to be the new coach. So my debut was against Nunawading Spectres, and we lost by 25. but I got busy. I dropped 40.
Yeah, I was going to ask too. You averaged your average in your career was up there, wasn't it? It was like in your first few seasons you were scoring over 30 points a game.
Yes, I was. And I realized early in the piece that if I was going to be a player coach, I couldn't maintain that sort of rate of scoring. And, my pride was always to be a team player. I was a point guard in Wichita and all the other teams. So I knew how to distribute the basketball. And I focused on making my teammates better. So as a player coach, my goal then was to be the best assist man I could be, but also I wanted to be efficient from the free throw line, and they didn't have a 3-point line back then. Jeez, So I was dropping numbers 33 a game in a 40-minute game with everybody coming after me, But I understood early that you gotta be a good teammate, and the work ethic, the skill set, the aptitude, the learning, and having fun. Like setting goals and trying to achieve. Having fun was my scheme of things to try to make basketball a fun place to be.
So your son had followed you in the journey and is sort of boast, I think, 6 rings. So that's Jordan territory if he's in the NBA.
He's got 6. I only got 2.
Yeah. So is there rivalry in the family over those sorts of things? Are you a competitive family? Because you seem laid back, but are you competitive internally, like with the brothers and sisters and the siblings?
Totally. Totally. CJ can speak to it, but I can tell you one story. I'll tell you the one story. When CJ was starting to really become a player in the Perth, when we moved to Perth, he was 12, 13 years old. He started to rep ball, and he was then maturing and getting taller, and he was just as tall as I was at 14 years of age. And he invited me to his school. And once he was about to graduate, I went in to visit him and see. The teachers wanted me to come to the auditorium. And there was the whole school in the auditorium. And I'm wondering, what's this? They must give him an award or something. This is going to be nice. And then he comes walking out of this back locker room or whatever it was with a pair of sneakers for me, and everyone's chanting, CJ, CJ. So he's giving me the sneakers. Now I got a suit and tie on and a sport jacket. I'm in suit and tie and my patent leather shoes. And he said, put these on. We're about to go to work. And he immediately started spanking me in front of his whole school. And he said, now, Pop, I'm ready. But then the beauty about that, I set myself up to get in the best possible shape I can get in when I came back to Perth from Hobart and had the opportunity of playing with him in the backcourt.
Nice.
And that was my first blessing right there. But go, Doc, you can talk about the competitiveness with Elliot and Austin.
So at that time when you're at a dinner table and sitting around, you get to play one-on-one with Pops. It's amazing. We all love the game like that. We all grown up around it and wanted to be a part of it, involved with it, from what he did in the community to what he did on the basketball court to how he taught the game to anyone and everyone that came through that door. And then when we got a chance to play with him, he would beat us down like this, you're not winning. And then to go to the dinner table with your brothers and stuff, and he's bragging about how he just, man, that was a great day. You see that move? Woo! I just took him. Like, and then my left, my left is dangerous. It's like you just couldn't eat quick enough to get from the table to your bedroom and cry.
Wash those dishes first, though.
Well, yeah. Well, and then your brothers are looking at you like, what happened? Like, why you got pissed? Like, and then eventually they go through it. And then it's to that point where, we had the rivalry at home, and then me and my younger brother, Austin, being a little closer, spending that time together as my older brother was taking his journey to playing state and rep and traveling a little more. We had a hoop out the back of Bruton basketball hoop that my mom and dad were able to create, and we used to get the lights on, and Mom used to keep score, and used to be Austin and I versus my dad, and my mom would call us out. We run out like it was an actual game, and they're the beautiful moments that we share. And then Ellie had his own team, so he was by himself, and Papa was by himself. But Austin and I, we would team up, and it was like Kobe and Shaq, like trying to throw the alley-oops, and everyone could dunk on that hoop. So it was like everyone was off because he couldn't get off the ground. Not then, not the early stage, but he had a flame. So like his dad, he could shoot the ball. So we had created a 3-point line and had our space. But it was a great little tournament that we all got to spend that family time together as well when we weren't at a stadium sitting or watching someone play. So that's how it starts out, and then you create your own journey. But being able to beat an older sibling or to be able to beat your pop it's always the ultimate. And I guess I'm old school, being in that generation of what gets you over the hump. And I guess once I did that, I knew that competing against the D-Max of this world, to the Ricky Graces, to the Shane Hills, to the Derek Ruckers, like I've did it. Like the mental aspect, I already got that. I had that every day. But growing up in Australia taught me the beauty of it was the fundamentals that they teach every day in the venues of learning how to play the team game first. And if you look at the United States, you see the Steve Francis who I played against in junior colleges, to the guys of having to go, create their own path to be known and recognize that I got to score, I got to get the buckets, I got to make this move, and every day people are coming out to see me, so I got to put on a show where I'm just happy to be a part of the team. And then you realize that I have more skill than that and I can do a little more, but how can you affect the game? Because I don't want to take away from my teammates. And it's like, well, can you crawl up 94 feet? So I learned how to steal a ball pretty quickly. As you're dribbling down the court, I can take it off you. Then I learned how to read the game off the ball. When you pass to someone, I read the next pass. So, making a different impact and being able to share the ball was even more recognized. And it was like, wow, he's even a greater player. But then when he went across that water to the States, it was like, I just want to win. And the only way I'm going to get my jersey to hang up here or be remembered in my college ranks to wherever I go, that's what my dad's done in Australia. He's already remembered. So from a kid, he was remembered in Geelong, he was remembered in Brisbane to Perth, and he set a standard. And as a kid, I just wanted to follow that, and I saw the impact that he made and what sport was able to do for him in his life. And I was like, this is a gold ticket, and I don't think people recognize it. And not everyone gets to that stage, but I was fortunate enough, and I was blessed enough to not have too many injuries along the way. And I was blessed with his a little bit bigger than my pops, So yeah, that was an added bonus. But
I said I feel blessed just to be 5'9", and that's what my platform shoes on. Because when I was trying out with the pros, they told me I was 5'7". I was devastated. I had an afro, and I'm standing tall, and that's where it all started. For me, just to be aiming to be an NBA player, and missing out on that, and then of course having to go back to a regular job and back in New York, and I was taught school for a while. Everybody probably wouldn't know that I was a school teacher for a year. And once I achieved that status, then I felt I can hopefully doing the trials and the summer tournaments, playing against the NBA, I get a shot, and I ended up in San Antonio with the Spurs, and that was great to get through this free agent camps to the actual NBA preseason, and then thought I was just about to make it, and then bang, the last exhibition game, you get cut. Where CJ is the blessing for me because he took everything to a whole new level. And, we often talk about, where does that differentiate, the games. And really he was just focused, and he was just a great team player. And my thing was always, because I was a player coach and because I had a family and those responsibilities, I found it difficult, particularly after watching The Last Dance. I think Michael Jordan's life was a dream compared to what I had to go through. He had his mom and his dad. I had my mom, but she struggled after my dad died with alcohol and was taken away from my home at one stage. I got two sisters. One of my sisters is only 10 months younger than me, and she's intellectually handicapped, and she's albino. And I was taking her to school with me, and the kids was telling me, let go of that white girl's hand. And I'm like, white girl? Because I grew up in the 60s when there was a lot of discrimination. And I said, there ain't no white girl. I've made that. That's my sister. Yeah, oh no, she's a white girl. So now I got my dukes up. I'm ready to go. Yeah. And I get suspended from school, but I can't tell my mom because boy, that's a whipping coming. So I gotta leave. I gotta leave like I'm going to school every day with my sister, and then go hide in the laundromat for the day. And then finally, my mom realized that that wasn't an environment to bring me up in. And my baby sister was born a month after my dad died. So that was really tough for a single mom, you know. So I was her little man, and that sort of competitive and fight brought me to where I am today, you know. And it's been a challenge, but I love my life and my story. I got a story. Don't worry about that. I think coming here and having to go through Geelong and Brisbane and Perth and everyone think, well, why does he have to move to Hobart, you know, back to Perth and then to Canberra, and then out of Canberra to Sydney? And each port has been some heartbreak, you know, like when you go to Geelong and you lead them to 2 back-to-back championships in the VBA, and they've been in the grand final in their first year in the NBL, and me being a player coach, and then you play in Western Division, 2 divisions back then, because we had 17 NBL teams. And you win the West Division twice, but you can't get over that hump. And then you be told that, okay, we got to half your salary because we don't want you to play a coach no more. And we want you to accept a pay cut. And I'm thinking, why? Like, I've tried to do everything I could to help the team. Like, and I got a young family, you know, and they said, well, sorry, you take it or leave it. So my attitude was like, you know what? I got to leave it. You know, so I was selling women's shoes, you know, in a shoe shop with my man Wayne McDaniel. I better give him a shout out. He was in the men's shop. I was in the women's shop. You know, I was selling. They had me in shape because I had to keep running to the back, getting more shoes for the women. And finally, the opportunity came to go back to Brisbane. And then I get there, we go and win a championship, and I get a chance to represent Australia. And then the next year, we in the championship again. We lose, and I'm told that, you know what, I think we'd like to go in a different direction. And I had to pay for a clearance. I think I was the first basketball player, to end up in the Supreme Court in Melbourne, because Geelong didn't want to pay me no more. They told me I'm done. And then when I get a contract, they say, oh, but we want you. So they take me to court to get a clearance, and I had to pay $7,000, which I didn't have. Had to borrow it. And then I go to Brisbane. I've got to move on again, and Perth. Jeez, what a story to get to the championship after grand final, semifinal, and then I get the opportunity through the owners to coach again, and you win a championship. And they say, okay, that's it. Step to the side. You know, we want you to be our CEO. Like, I don't want to be a CEO now. You just put me in a position where I just coached through a whole lot of difficulty, you know, and got a team to actually come together and win a title. The first one ever in Western Australian history, and you don't even want to give me a chance to continue. And that was shattering, you know.
So the last dance would resonate a little bit with you as far as admin, and I actually spoke with, I've interviewed both Joey Wright and also Bevo, and you know, you got to be careful. Like, these men are still chasing their NBL ambitions as coaches. And the phrase that you use is one of the most common phrases I think coaches and players hear these days, which is, and it's the amicable way of saying we're moving in a different direction. It's like, I think it's just it may as well be tattooed on their it's like going in a different direction, because the number of people who have said that is exactly how it is put to them. When it's time to move on. Question: the championship with Perth, was that your first championship, CJ? Was that the team that you played in?
No, CJ was just a young floor.
You were young. Yeah. No. What was your first? What was your first championship?
Sydney.
My first championship was in Sydney.
So
after playing for the Wildcats and then leaving to go into the States, returning to Brisbane. Playing with the Bullets when I returned after getting drafted, and then going down to Wollongong to play with Glenn Saville and Matt Campbell and Eric Cooks. Give a shout out to Cookie down there, and Mark Dalton and co with Cameron Dickinson. Brendan Joyce coached us and gave us a good platform to compete and play in the playoffs. And then I realized that, you know, my time with him was done, and I needed that challenge. And I went back overseas to again chase another goal and dream, and came back to play for my pups. And that was that part of, you know, I just want to win. Like, I'm sick. I don't want to carry a team. I don't want to be Shane Hill and try and score 30 a game or lead the league in scoring. That's not my goal. I just want to win. And playing for my pop was an added bonus to be able to bring now my wife, my fiance, and then get Princess, and then we got to Canberra and being able to start as a family and work together. But obviously the foundations of that club, before I got there was always it was difficult and it had its own challenges. But we were able to do some things there and make it special. Getting to play with Nigel Johnson, we toured, and we had Dave Thomas and Mike Chappelle on that team. Mick Hill, who I call Slim, Cameron Rigby, all these guys, Brennan Mann. We had a dynamic Brad Williams. We had a pretty good crew. Dave Patrick, who's gone on to coach in the college ranks. We were pretty loaded, and right when we felt like we had a team that could compete, it fell over, and I was hurt at the time, and the team came back to finish the season and to see that New Zealand came in and pitched that license, and I said, well, that's it. I'm out of here. I don't know if I can play or move again. And Gorge reached out to me after being so close on the national team, and Shane Hill was stepping down after winning the title, and he says, "You're my guy." And I said, "Man, I don't even know if I can even run right now the way my body is, and my knees hurt, and some of the injuries. I thought I'd come back better than ever, as everybody else says when you get injured." And came back to Brisbane and was training and saw a doctor. Actually, I went to the Institute of Sport up here, and they showed me how to get my muscles firing again, and went back to Sydney and to play with Matt Nielsen. Jason Smith was on the team. You had David Stift, a legend who my dad had coached, Brett Wheeler. So I was playing with vets, and I felt like to go to Sydney was an opportunity to put myself in the best position to win a championship and utilize my talents as well. And even during the injuries, I think they all catered to me and helped me through that time, because I felt like I couldn't stop. Like anyone that coming back from an injury, as you're running down the court, it's that fear factor that it's going to go again, or this is going to happen. I don't want to stop, and just throwing the ball away and bracing myself to the wall, and what happens. And I got stronger. I had Nick Popovich as my trainer, who's down in Melbourne United at the moment, and I owe a lot to him for the mindset and pushing to get my body the right way. Went from 94 kilos all the way down to 79 kilos in the span of 3 years in Sydney. Was able to achieve and tick off a lot of boxes. Went to 3 straight grand finals. But that first title was special. All the work that you put in, coming back from an injury, play with great players, to listen to Brian tell his stories about my family in the Geelong days and Victoria days, competing against my dad, to all the coaches in that era, from Bruce Palmer, that generation, to being with Jason Smith, just a hard-nosed worker, to the young players like Dave Barlow and Graham Dan, Luke Martin. A lot of respect for how hard they work. BJ Carter, who's part of all the championships in Sydney, to Brad Sheridan, who came out of the Institute. So I play with guys at different spectrums and different areas, but the way that the team came together, I think every day they came and competed and battled, and we fought every day. Like it was fun to be around that group, but it was even more special when you got on the floor, because you were hungry for your position, and every day was competing to earn your spot. And Luke Martin, from the time I got there, man, the way he ran on that track, I thought, shoot, we were running 400s and doing 100-meter sprints, and you had to do 1000s, and I was just walking around the track because I couldn't even run at that point. But watching him dash everyone and then see him play in the Waratah League and dominate that, I was like, this kid's legit. Mm-hmm. He needed to have the whole package, and when you're playing with other stars, utilize them a little better. And he got to do that over time, and Gorge found a role for him. But I think as time went on, that team just found the spot. And then we ran into West Sydney, the only Australian team to get to a grand final, and push. And then Rick Burton, who was the CEO and the commissioner of the league,
he took my
he decided that was the first time that he butchered the NBL and made it, instead of a 3-game series, which it had been at that point, to a 5-game series. And that was another blessing for me, right? Like, hey, I was a part of a generation where when I never really played series like that. And in the NBL, as you see in the NBA, when you play 82 games and they travel around, it's a little different. You can get up for each game, and it's a little different. But as everyone knows, when you start playing the same team 4 or 5 times, and they know all your moves, and you're getting more fatigued, and you're still practicing and traveling, it was the strongest is going to survive this. And I think, you know, every hurrah, you got to give a shout out to my boy Charlie. He was amazing. Like from the day he stepped off the plane, and he was so quiet and in himself. And you know, Princess, my wife, was like, you know, you got to take him under your wing. I said, man, enough with that kid. Like he needs a clip. Like I don't know who that dude is. Like, you know,
he's got some highlights.
He's definitely got some highlights for what he did in the NBL to what he's done throughout his career. Great person, great heart, and he came away and made some spectacular plays, as did the players throughout that whole series. Like from Stevie Markovic, got to give him some props. Yeah. He's who I went after. To Aaron Trahair, another legend from the Australian junior ranks, from under 12s all the way through his career. You know, played away in a role. To, you know, you had the Scott McGregors from the New South Wales state team to playing for Australia that beat USA. You had Sam McKinnon in that game. You had Simon Dwight in that game. You had Matt Nielsen in that game. It was a time of that era and generation. So, you know, when I look back at it and what those guys had, all those players that had done up to that point, and then what they did throughout their careers, and the players that make it to a finals, like everyone takes it for granted on how they get there, but it was a special moment, and to win it was one of those ones of, it's like the ultimate feeling. I remember going to my wife, winning, gave her a hug, kiss, and all the, you know, the emotions came of when you win that title and all the work that you've had to put in, all the sacrifices you've had to go through, and not everyone gets to know all that, but it was a special moment. And then to see my pop, it's like I was finally on the board. Like I
and you gave me your ring.
Him, like,
I still wear that ring.
Yeah. So I was going to say we've got we've got some very patient people in the audience who are throwing out questions, so we might do some quick fires here just to get them a little bit engaged. We've got a few people. Just a shout out to you guys from Steve Catlin, so another Brisbane Bullet techie. So,
what up, Cat? My man.
So
if you want to know analytics on the game, that man has got it down. He's the one that helps our coaching staff destroy teams and pick you apart, put us in the best possible position to win. And I think analytics has taken one of those tolls that over time, that you listen to Charles Barkley talk about it, you know, there's no place for it. There is a place for it. It's how you utilize it. And Andre's been amazing at how he does that. And Sammy's with his platform and how we dissect it and use it to complement our players and put them in the best possible position to win a game. Steve Catlin's been behind the scenes and providing information for us that are able to help us get across the line.
So we got Jay Pickering just acknowledging, he's in the audience. He's saying loved watching you guys play at Cal running in number 55, was it? At the Wildcats.
So that's because I had no choice. I wore number 5 in Brisbane, and then I wore number 10 in Geelong. So I wanted either number, and when I got to Perth, Trevor Torrance had number 10. A big shout out to Trevor because he's TT, you know, and Tiny Pender wanted number 5. So I was kind of left. So I decided, well, let me get 5 and 5 and do my math. So 55 was the first time anyone ever was allowed to have a number that as long as the referees could signal on each hand. So
nice.
55 became it.
Yeah, so you've got. I'll come back to one that's directed at you, CJ, but I'll come back. Matty Horn shouting out saying he remembers when you went to his school as a kid. So I don't know what the age difference is. That's CJ awesome. Visiting the school. So Mark,
that was different.
So Mark Glenday, he used to take photos of the Bullets back in the day and still floats around as a coach and has helped me with some stuff. He's saying g'day to you as well. So, but there's a guy named Big Joe in the and he's got a thing about Tim Tam, some sort of horrific experience. It's like
that must be with CJ.
Yeah, with CJ. So
we won a championship in played for the Bullets, their last championship in 2007, and we went down to Melbourne to play that game, and I remember being on the plane and talking about how good this is going to be, and was able to organise one of the horse carriers that come around in Melbourne, and some of our boys got in, and we went out and around the city just to soak up all this atmosphere and just not let the day just sit in our rooms. And when we came back, we had all these donuts and things like that. Or, we're going to celebrate. We're going to celebrate. And that after we won the championship, and I think Big Joe must have ate a whole bunch that night. I don't know how many he had, but he had. That was enough for the whole team. So they disappeared quick. And there was other people there around, so I'm not going to say he put them all down, but there was enough.
That called Slim
I
Joe
remember saying, but when we won, I was like, where's Snacks at? Because,
Snacks.
Big Joe had to eat little. Yeah, that's why I call him Snacks. So you got to eat little bits of time. And around the team, he's always snacking. And, so as the day went and we couldn't find him and we were out celebrating, and I remember going back with his roommate, he tried to smoke bomb me. As Dusty Rycott, Ted, he used to do that a little bit during the season. And I said, no, we got to go back. I got to go find Big Joe. And they said, he's in the room. And when we stopped at, 7-Eleven, and I was grabbing my little snacks, I always carried a Tim Tams, like a little Tim Tam. So, and we got to the room, and Big Joe was in his bed all curled up. And I said, man, I told his roommate, don't you say nothing. And he was out cold, and so I had on my Tim Tams, and I just laid them all around him inside, put his cheeks back, put them all around him in places, put it up, and I turned the heat up in that room. And while he was asleep, I told old boy, him, don't you touch that doll. Otherwise, me and you going to have words in the morning and for the rest of this time that I'm here. So he didn't touch it, and I think Big Joe woke up with the sweats, and there was Tim Tams laying all over him. And he got up, and he told me he looked. And he's like, what is it? Did I do something? Did I do number 2 in my bed? Or what happened? And he ended up having sex all that on his body. Well, talk about it on camera, but yeah, it's one of those moments. It was a funny time, but much love to that whole team and all those players that played during that time and the staff, from Darrell, Henry to, the whole office staff, they did an amazing job. For us that, as you know, in sports, don't get a lot of credit when you see the players that are on the floor and the people involved that are on the screen, but it's behind the scenes that need to get a lot of credit from the community basketball all the way to the professional league, that behind the scenes making things work and tick and getting the players to and from their commitments, that's able to keep associations and clubs going. And I think they do an amazing job, don't get enough praise, and we need to praise that, remember that.
Yeah, and I'm a bit stuck as to what to say after all that, but that's really good. You've got some great stories that I remember you telling me, CJ. So that's how I know he's a good storyteller, Cal, because he when you catch up with CJ, he always shares some great stories.
You should see him actually do a singing skit.
Oh, really? Let's go. Where's the? Does he need music?
He's up online. He did one with the family. Every 2 years, around my birthday, we bring the whole family together. And everybody get into one room. We have a little party, and everyone does a little skit. And CJ holds the court. Now, he's been doing that since he was like a youngster going to Toowoomba for the summer camps. And we hear all this noise. We got 400 kids at the camp, at the super camp. And Pop Dickinson, shout out to him. And we there, and all of a sudden we practicing all the Carfinos and all the top coaches. We actually go back to the dorms, and the crowd, everyone goes, Dad, what's going on? And they going, yeah, go, yeah. And I'm like, walking, what's happening? I thought it was like they were having a fight. There's CJ in the middle doing dance moves. And all 400 kids are clapping and joining.
Bobby Brown.
He's doing the Bobby Brown. Because he had that haircut.
Yeah.
But yeah,
kept you in shape. That whole generation. That was good.
So
we had some fun. Yeah.
So that's where I first actually met you. I was coaching 2 years. I coached at Super Camp for Pop.
Okay, there you go.
And I mentioned that to you, but
You did.
in the early 90s, 91, I think it was 90, might have been, I was at uni and I graduated.
92.
I graduated, and this might spark your memory, it might not, but we weren't allowed to, probably going a little bit, we weren't allowed to drink, if you remember, because we were at the University of Queensland, so that will spark where we were. And I graduated at the university the second year I coached, and I actually came and you guys closed the Al Green, Carfino, and everyone. We all closed the Concertina, if you remember, and we had someone fake. We had someone fake that there was that they were having a meeting because we weren't allowed to drink. Yeah, we weren't allowed to be drinking on the site. So I come back from a graduation because my family had been there, but we didn't celebrate. I was coaching, so I come back, and you guys, we closed the door, and you guys celebrated with me, and it was in the same banter that you guys throw at each other, and I'm visualizing you and Al keep reaching across, and you got this big long pull of the arms. And, man, it's it was one of the best experiences for someone to celebrate their graduation. But I remember the kids. The interesting thing is, you and Steve, you shot 10 straight 3-pointers. I remember waiting for Pop to come and talk to the kids, and it was on an outdoor court sort of down, and the kids were just flabbergasted because you didn't miss. And I remember that. And the other thing that I remember was Steve was upset because he'd done his knee and he hadn't played for 2 or 3 years in the league, and he was who was he, Mr. Hoops, or what do they call him on TV?
Mr. Magic.
Mr. Magic. Oh, sorry, yeah, Mr. Magic. Yeah. So no, don't want to offend him, but yeah, and he was upset in the All-Star game. He come out and lit it up, I think, because no one knew who he was, and he's like, "I'm not having this." So yeah, I'd rolled my ankle at that camp, and Andre Moore had busted his shoelace, and because I didn't need my shoe, he took my shoelace and he nicknamed me Shoestrings. So. Yeah, so that was that. He still calls me Shoestrings. So don't leave those things down. But CJ, I want to talk to you about your stories of one of the ones that you told me once was the experience with you and Gibbo heading to a game at Southbank. Do you want to share with the audience your little getting to the game on time moment? Are you allowed?
I think that could be. There's been I've had some funny ones and different routes of getting 2 games. I don't know exactly which one you're talking about. With which one?
The horse cart, and cart. The horse and cart. Taking the horse and cart over the bridge.
Over the bridge?
Yeah.
That was in a. I've done a few different things with Gibbo.
Yeah, okay.
When you're a young player in the game and you want to travel around, and I want to tell that story, but I'll tell you one about Gibbo was being that young player that came in the league and seeing him play for Joey out of the AIS and giving him his first shot from JVG and Eddie Groves when they owned the team. Joey put him in a spot that was right for him to learn. He had Derek Rucker in front of him, pure professional that came in and did his work and led by example. And then Gibbo just, when Sam McKinnon came in and Derek Rucker moved on and I was able to come in here, just that passion that he had, I saw the joy in him, and it was like, you got to loosen up. And I remember the first time coming in, that very first practice that we had, Ebby Arar and myself, we were sitting there tying our shoes up, and Sammy was walking in, but I'd already put how Sydney Kings have beat West Sydney and plastered that on the wall at Lang Park, and then we were tying our shoes up, and Sammy walked in, and he's like ripping stuff off the wall. He was very upset and letting everyone know, like, this shit, that's not going to fly. And then when Gibbo rocked in, and then Joey put us on, split the teams up, and that very first practice was, you know what, let's get it. And we got after it, and Gibbo and Sam on the same team and running around. And I remember having Bouch on my team, and we were going to work, and we were winning. and Blackie was still out, so he was just in his crutches at the time. And Eddie Raw was hanging with Sammy and that crew and talking junk to me. And I said, man, you ain't winning nothing. And Gibbo, at last play of the game, he didn't even foul me, but I called foul. I shot the ball, and I was like, man, that's a foul. And I started cussing everyone, like, that's a foul. Like, hey. And they started dribbling down the other end, like, nah. And Mick Hill and all that, everyone kept playing like, man, that ain't no foul. I said, man, that's a foul. Hey, run it back. Sammy's like, no way. It ain't happening. And I said, man, Gibbo. And I played, did you foul me? Tell me, did you foul me? And he was like he shake his head like, nah, I didn't. But then he turned around and was like, I said, man, you fouled me. Say it. And he did, and we got the ball back. We ended up winning the game. He said, gang, get off my court. This is my gym. I told you I'm coming up here. I run this thing. This is my house, you know. And Sammy was like, don't you ever say that. And I remember from Gibbo's standpoint, you know, like anything, you learn from it. But we used to go out and to restaurants and stuff. And I remember the first time I went out, I said, I got you. Let's go eat. And him and Brad Williams, got to give a shout out to Brad Williams and the Williams family. We went out and I said, man, Cheryl, can I get some food? And Gibbo always, he knows because he was like, who's Cheryl? And then some dude came by and said, hey, Billy, can we get some more ketchup or something? And I was like, looked at me like, I'm not Billy. But yeah, he went and came back with some ketchup. He's like, do you know that guy? I said, I don't know him. I said, but, you know, like, he's a waiter. Like, I called him Billy. He responded, you know, what we wanted, he got it done. And he thought it was funny. And so from that point on, the three, from Brad Williams and Gibbo, we called each other Billy. And then we started giving everyone nicknames throughout the team. From Abby Ra, Stan McKenna, we called him Ralph, and a few other boys. And Dylan Boucher was called Ewan, and the whole crew, Dusty Reichert, Ted. Yeah, we named everyone on the team. So when we got on the floor, it just made such a different dynamic of when you're running and executing. Like, people try to understand your system, and they might know your offense once they've seen you play enough times. But we're like, hey, let's go get Ralph a shot, and let's get an elbow catch from Sammy Mack, and let him go to work. And everyone's like, who the hell's Mack? Oh, who's Ralph? Like, you know, hey, Billy, and let's get Charlie a shot. So Abby Rao will come off, and we're like, that's Charlie right there. I'll be like, there's a pick, and I'll just throw it to him. Whack. He's like, yeah, here we go. Go ahead, Charlie. So, you know, you find different ways to keep your team inspired and strive for different things. But Gibbo was a leader. I think he's always led, and he was a jokester at the start, but he was able to lead, and his character throughout the NBL and the way he's pushed himself to get to London Olympics, to what he's done throughout his career, and keep evolving. And as most players have to do, as you keep playing within the league, you got to keep evolving. He's done an amazing job at it, and he's going to continue to do great.
Mm.
Interesting. You know, I will flip it a little bit, you know, because having the platform with you, Craig, you know, I think talking about diversity and inclusion, you know, I've been involved with quite a number of Black Americans in the country, bringing them in here and giving guys opportunities to start their careers here in Australia. And as we've gone through this, you know, I've been here 41 years, watching it evolve. My take is that I see it dwindling. I see all the Black American players actually playing as imports for teams, but just like the NFL are going through now, they are actually having a affirmative action, you know, where they're giving draft choices and opportunity for clubs to capitalize on just to hire minorities. And I see that there's not a great deal of opportunities for players that's put a lot of time in, still living here. But once they finish playing, you know, I've been the only general manager of color in the NBL history, you know, and had a chance to have ownership of a club, but couldn't get any support from the NBL. You know, had it all, money, everything ready to go, but they kind of excluded me, you know. And then I've noticed now from the coaching ranks, Joey Wright's been one of the premier Black American coaches, you know, which everyone's shouted his praises and some haven't, but he's brought a lot to a lot of players who gave him a lot of positives, and he's a championship coach. But when I look at the league now, I'm very proud of my son. Obviously, he's worked his way hard through it, and I see him as like the only coach at this stage, along with I think it's the guy from Sydney. I don't even know his name. He hasn't. I haven't even seen him speak on any platform or anything. But to me, I see that opportunity not existing, and I would like to see more with the Aboriginal Torres Strait Islanders, like Nathan Jawa, Tyson Demas. There's only 2 representatives there. I'd like to see opportunities being opened up for us to have more diversity and have that culture, in our history, because everyone's cheering for the Bryce Cottons and, the Casper Wares, and, these guys are, what's his name, Trimble from Melbourne.
Trimble.
Yep. All these guys are being lauded, for what they do on the court, and everybody flocks to them. But then when they finish playing, where do they go? And there's so many guys like Darryl McDonald and Adonis Jordan and, my main man, my number 1 guy, Leroy Loggins, who, is trying to obviously, he's a statue out in front, But what's his involvement with the league? Like this year in the NBL, Leroy and I and Ray Boyner, we all get to go to the Loggins Bruton Cup. There's CJ coaching Brisbane in Tasmania where I coach, and they win the cup. Now, I'm excited for him, but they leave the day before they present the cup, and I don't get a chance to present, or Leroy, to present our cup at all. That happens often, and I like to see, where guys come together, because we all want to give to the game, but they're all doing it in a real fragmented way, and what the NFL is trying to get going now is that this is a melting pot. This is a multicultural society. I work with AFL Sports Ready. I look after disadvantaged kids. I open up, a lot of job opportunities for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander kids. I knock on corporate doors and try to create these traineeships and cadetships, and AFL does it great. AFL Sports Ready is probably the most premier company that opens up. So we should take a leaflet out of their book, and you see in the NBA, the platform that the LeBron Jameses and the Chris Pauls and, Carmelo Anthony's, those guys, we don't have that platform here, and yet still we looked at as leaders, and it's a hard struggle. I mean, particularly for myself. I got, I can't even actually promote the game. I set up Bruton basketball to take it around the country. I've had to pay my own way. No one's actually come to help. That's why I call him my son. So strategically placed all over the country. Not that I planned it that way, but I got Austin in Perth and CJ in Brisbane and Elliot in New South Wales, and I'm in ACT. And we'll load up and drive down to Melbourne and jump on a ferry and go to Tasmania. So, I did a lot of work with the different charities and what have you, but I just wanted to get that out there because I just think that it's so important for us to come together and utilize these guys that are sitting, wanting the opportunity, but no one's extended the olive branch. And when I see the flip side, I see a lot of players that are being like Connor Henry's just come in, and there's obviously guys that's been around for a while, like Will Weaver's come in. He's done a fantastic job with Sydney and led them to the grand final. And then you got Mike Kelly, and a lot of guys get those opportunities, but I never see that with the guys that are actually playing currently, looking at opportunities to extend. Mm-hmm. And now, hopefully, Bryce Cotton might break that mold because everyone wanting him to stay in Australia. And hopefully there's a long-term opportunity that he can, grow with the Wildcats program and keep them forever on a winning streak, for consecutive finals. But, that respect factor to me is something that I like to see elevated and opportunities presented. And I just wanted to get that out there just because I know we kind of getting to the end, but I just thought that was important to touch base,
Mate, there's no end as long as people are still watching and enjoying the thing and the engagement. I don't put a time frame on it, but I think Jason Kadee, who I interviewed, and also Big Joe, they competed back to back for who had the longest episode. So I think
longest what
episode? So it was 1 hour and 40 minutes. Say I think Big Joe outdid. They're watching so Kadee did it early. And then Big Joe outdid him, but what's interesting there is that Kadee still argued that he had the better show. So just because it was longer didn't make it better.
Now they're two good guys. I mean, I know that obviously I coached. I coached under Robbie Kadee, who was the general manager at West Sydney, and they gave me an opportunity to go there. And young Jason was just starting out; he was a young school kid. And then Robbie sort of said to me, "Then go play him a little one-on-one and straighten him out." Now I'm 50 years old. I'm gonna go play this kid. But you know what? I'm so competitive. CJ will tell you the truth. I'm not gonna miss an opportunity. One day we swapped roles, and CJ coached the Cannons while I played for the Cannons.
That was against Bogut. That was Bogut and Reese Carter. That whole AIS team, and Australian junior team at that time.
And I dropped 48 on them.
Dropped 50.
50.
40, and I dropped 50 and I was 48 years old. So my whole thing is that, when you give into the game, you just want the opportunity to sort of be able to assist young kids coming through. And I think we got little, prejudices that come up that, or where they use the proper term, unconscious bias, But from my point of view, I think it's conscious. They just try to sweep it and act like it's not. And that's a difficult thing when young players look up to me and all of a sudden they say, well, how do we get in touch with you? Because no one else wants to promote your cast. But all the people would love for us to present those opportunities to them. So we get requested to go to these different associations or all that. But, all the American players are now divided to the point where they can't come together because they just don't have a platform. So I would suggest that if there's growth in the game, tap on those guys that got that experience. Everybody wants to be involved and assist. Give them the olive branch to help out in those associations and make a splash in their own space with the local community. Because community is actually what drives these programs, So I just wanted to.
And that's where we've been fortunate in that space of with Bruton basketball going to Orange and small areas, smaller towns, so to speak. And this is where you get the Greg Vanderjacks and the Tari Tornadoes, and you see the Damian Martins and. There's, the Nick Kay, Lismore, when where these guys are coming from, and to know that so many kids in those smaller towns don't get a chance because they're so in remote areas that they don't get a chance to see. They watch the NBL on TV. They don't know really too many players, but when you go down to areas like that, or when we're out in WA or in different parts of Australia, up in Broome, and just teach them the game, and they feel your how you ooze the game, how much you love and your passion for the game, and for them to understand that not everyone gets to that level, but we're here to teach you how much fun that you can have in this game. And this game can take you out of your town to another place where you can meet more friends, become family and friends, and have jobs and community, and how you connect in the real world is through sport, right, as well. And so it's just another platform, and there's so many different ways to get there. I think that's one thing that my dad and Bruton basketball has done. Yeah. And what I'm proud of most is that when we travel around, not only do we tell our story, but we give them the values that you have in life and the reasons of why this sport brought us here to this country, to how it's home and how we utilize this sport to show each little kid. And then they come back like the Danny Mills, that have been a part of your camp, who's with Philadelphia 76ers, to, you have other players like Luke McKay, who's, coaching in the States, who went to high school. He's like, I'm going to go to high school. I got passion and a drive, and I love what you've done, Cal, and, coming to your morning sessions is inspiring me. What's the next pathway, or where can I go? And then the world's their oyster. They're in the States, and now they're living in the States or traveling the globe and seeing places and parts of the world that they would have never saw just from the areas that they were from.
I think that's so important. Go.
No, I was going to say, I was just having a look at the chats and things. So we've got a couple of people here saying that you guys are amazing. So that's Brody Butler, I think it is. Butler.
Yeah, Brody.
And
he's the best photographer in the Southern Hemisphere right there.
There you go. And
That's a big shout out.
Hey, get on his page.
Tara Scott. So what's his page? Shout out to
Brody Butler Photography, I think it is. Yeah.
So Big Joe jumped back in the chat as well. So Richard Balaffi shouting out, Australian New Zealand Basketball Scouts. He's been watching the last couple of times. And we've got, who else have we got? Frank Goldfinch jumped in.
Frank was my teammate.
Yeah.
Back in 1979, I got a chance to play with him on the Gold Coast against Sabona Zagreb. Played down the little Southport Stadium, and we walked in that place. It was packed, hot as. And I'm playing as a guest with the Gold Coast along with my man Big Dan Hickett. And I just happened to ease out of the quiet 41, and we almost knocked off the Yugoslavia representative team. Everybody was thinking, but the Gold Coast boys won the ball. Frank Goldfinch's brother Neil, you had the Grantham boys, and shoot, them dudes down there, although all they had wore was thongs and shorts, they want to be at the beach every day. But when they get in the gym, they wore those what's those sneakers? Those little canvas volleys.
Volleys? Are they volleys? Yeah. They're light on their feet with those.
You're gonna break your ankle.
Yeah, I agree. I know someone who played in those all their QBL career. They didn't wear anything but volleys on the court, and they swore by them. So yeah, that's pretty intriguing. It's interesting. I have spoken to certain people floating around who run academies similar to yours. Obviously, I run one, and there is a feeling out there that there is some disjointedness. I know you go back 30 years to Pop Dickerson, where he had Supercam in every state, every capital city, and he couldn't get the support for it. There's no love when it comes to being outside the system as far as your associations go. I know how much of a battle it is. I don't get any love from any of the ones locally. I don't poach players, meaning I'm not engaged in that. I'm just working with athletes myself. You know what I mean? So I do pay for advertising. I word of mouth, all that stuff. It's the same, but you don't get the love from the sport, and yet you feel like if you want to grow the sport, you would think that everyone would be all in, but you get the feeling that if you're not in that system. So I have some strategies that I've actually spoken to BQ about, where I think like academies should be part of the system, even if they're like to come in to bring people in under insurance and things like that, and that they should be endorsed with if they call themselves an academy. I see academies popping up everywhere where there's guys who've never even coached, literally never even coached. They brand it, and they haven't ever coached a team. They're watching, like, nothing against watching YouTube. You can learn from anything and learn from anyone, but literally they have no experience, and they're jumping in to start an academy. Then you got the guys like yourself who have been in the league for years, who are struggling to get those opportunities to develop the sport across Australia. It becomes work. You get BK running his academy, and like I spoke with BK, and like he's the one who's out in the communities. He's the guy that helped Danny Morsu. He's the guy that helped. You mentioned Jarwai. Like it's like this. Like I got huge issues, and it's probably why I'm on the outer myself. But I love coaching education. That's one thing that I focus on. I love, because I know when you coach one coach, you coach athletes across a whole generation. You have a legacy there. And I know I've seen your clinics. You've run them in my area. I wish I'd have caught up with you the last time you were here. I messaged you. And here's the thing is, I have no issue with you being in my neck of the woods because it's basketball. That's it. So
and my thing is, if I saw you, we had made the contact, you definitely welcome, and we're going to basically look after you in that space as well, so that all those kids become your kids while we're gone. So that's the way it works, And I get totally disappointed. I mean, here in Canberra, I can't, as I mentioned, can't even hang a fly up. But more importantly is the respect factor. When you actually put 41 years in and you've been recognized as a Hall of Famer and a championship coach, a championship player, and you kind of, treated as if you're not even a part of that fraternity. It's very disappointing. I recently went down to the NBL Gays dinner, Andrew Gays Awards, and it was great, to be around that fraternity. CJ was down there, and the Brisbane Bullets, and I got a call from the NBL to actually come down. And I thought, this is great. I'm gonna get a chance to, So I got, I was offered a ticket, which I wish I had one for my wife. It's always nice to get away and leave the kids, but that didn't happen. So I had to actually drive myself. I had to find my own accommodation. Then I was asked to present the awards to my man, Joey Wright, who I was really excited about because I just thought all the years that he's put in and the wins he had on the board, I was getting a chance to present him with his 500 game award, and he wasn't there. I didn't know it. And I was standing up on the stage looking. I was going, where is Joey? So I got on my phone after, like, where you at? You left me standing up on the stage, bro. He said, I didn't get no invitation. I had to pay my own way. Where I would pay my way to be there. I don't think it's fair, particularly if you have me working, but I just think that sort of thing has to be elevated because the respect factor now in the NBA, you don't see Bill Russell having to pay his way anywhere. They rolling out chairs, gonna make sure they be around him. Kareem, Magic, those guys do it so well, and we aspire to be like the NBA. Larry Kesselman has done one
amazing
hell
job
of a job keeping this thing rolling. Him and Jeremy Lowliga, they've done it. But I think the people, again, in terms of having the diversity and the culture, I believe there should be more so that we who have a heart, I think I got one of the biggest hearts. Ricky Grace went on I had to straighten him. He went on a podcast last week. He said, man, Cal will give you the shirt off his back. People don't know much about me in that respect, but I'm always out to help someone have a better situation, and I had it as tough a road than anybody I can ever imagine, but I'm still out there, I'm still out there trying to make sure that kids get the opportunity. If I see a good special kid, I'm getting on the phone to CJ, say, yo, is there any chance that we can connect this kid? Maybe we got about probably 20 kids in the States on scholarships and going around. We don't ask for any kudos. We're not looking for no money. We just want to see those kids succeed.
Yeah.
And I think that's a rare, and there's so many other guys that got as many contacts as us that can do the same if they're given the opportunity.
Yeah. And it is about giving them opportunity, and that's all it is if they're putting in the hard yards and putting in the work and you can present them with those opportunities, then you're opening a door for them, and you're literally potentially changing lives. So, it's actually what it is about. It's like and I think anyone that I know, like the majority of people I know in the sport, genuinely are there to teach life lessons. It's the game is actually secondary. It really is secondary.
AFL Sports Ready does it, as I mentioned already. The education and employment and the stories that come back, and those kids that don't even see an opportunity actually get employed, and then they show their true skill set and their love for what they're doing, and then basically they're looking for the next one. So that to me is the beauty when you see kids thrive and succeed, because that it's a water effect, it's a wave effect. They're gonna affect their families. Their families gonna get excited, then therefore they got a friend that comes along as well to see that what you do. How'd you get a traineeship? How did you get a cadetship? And we get more kids in universities, and education is the key. So if we can provide that vehicle, which I thought basketball has been that for me, and it's been that for CJ, for my son Austin, Elliott, and I'm trying to pave that way for my young fellas. That vehicle can open up doors for kids to get those experiences that help the whole country become a better place. And now with the coronavirus, the way things eroded, I think we got to shift gears and take that into overdrive to make those things happen. So, I'm gonna do my bit, that's for sure. And I'm hoping that someone else comes along and say, yo, I think that's well worth the opportunity. So let's do more of it.
There's an opportunity to reinvent so much because of this crisis. So, some people see it as they're being. Some people play the victim and think everything's happening to them, but it's also something where you can say it's happening for you. So you can have that perspective. But I got some shout outs again. I just want to make sure I'm engaging with these people. So Colin Scott, one of the greatest things about the Brutons.
Yes.
Is they use basketball as a tool to not only promote the sport, but to use it to motivate the kids, but everyone to believe in themselves. So, like it is a recognition of what Bruton basketball does. And I saw you've got your Black Pearl Academy. CJ's got his CJ Bruton. Is it CJ Bruton Academy that doesn't have any posts yet? So that's something that he was got to start.
I'll put it up there.
He's incognito. He's under the radar.
Yeah, that's what I thought. That's what I thought he has to be. So
you don't have to be, but he chooses to be.
Chooses to be, yeah. So there's a brand. There's a brand there. So cat's out of the bag. Bevo's just joined. So shout out to Bevo.
Yeah, shout out to Bevo. He's amazing.
Shout out to Bevo.
Yeah, he's amazing too. I love Bevo. Yeah, I've seen his son, his youngest son, I hadn't seen, come to Canberra and play in the championships here recently. Mm-hmm. And this dude got that red head just like Bevo. I look out like, damn, all y'all dudes are ginger. Like, gee. And of course, his older son, they've given so much to basketball, and Bevo obviously international. But this young son, I hadn't seen before. Bevo got a son that can go places,
Yeah.
So keep an eye on that young Bevo. I don't know his name, but he's a kid that's kind of special.
We had Verl in too, CJ. We had Verl Williams. He popped in, but I don't know if he's still there now. So
from his father to him, it's one of the young was on our training roster and has been a DP player for us. Played at Southwest, has been up in Mackay. I was fortunate enough to coach his father at Southwest back in 07, 08, and what a beautiful family he's got and what he does for the Indigenous community and how he handles himself. And went out to Ipswich Grammar School, which is in the GPS, which another shout out to them of how hard all the GPS schools work. But he's been an amazing kid and every day pushing our players from Travis Trice, who was in here a long time ago, to Host Craig coming in and showing him different looks that he ain't seen in a while. And the players are pushing players like Jason Gadi and the Nathan Sogs of this world. He's been a great asset to our club.
Yeah, I spoke to him.
I'm sorry, go.
Yeah, I spoke to him at the Ausday Carnival at a good length, and he said how much value that program has had to his development, having the ability to be the guy that on the court, even though he's not playing in a development role, in a DP role, that he is getting to guard these guys. And he's quick, yep. So but he's getting this opportunity to develop at a level, and that's the advantage of being in the system. And so Cal, you're going to say about being an Indigenous player.
Yeah, well, I have Patty Mills here in Canberra, and I used to go to his father's training sessions because he coached the Shadows, and I used to play Patty Mills one-on-one. So shout out to the Mills, and obviously he's doing some wonderful things. But then my whole thing was like being a black man, I wanted to find those kids and give them opportunities. And Paul Vandenberg, who from South Australia, is now involved with the Port Football Club, had come to me from Adelaide. Yeah, shout out to South Australia with my man, Mean Al Green. They actually approached me to give him an opportunity here in Canberra. And, I saw that as like a big win to get Paul Vandenberg on board here to see whether he can play. So he came for a trial, and CJ and I, we used to do things like that, open up the door, and when he was here and said, let's have a trial. Let's see who comes in. That's how Mick Hill and Cam Rigby and big Paul
Blake Truslove.
Yeah, Blake Truslove. Yeah, Vasilovich. They all come trial. And when you see a young kid really pay his way, and it was funny, CJ loaded up a crew and they drove down from Brisbane and to Canberra, and we put them in a dormitory, and they had to come try out with the Cannons just so they get the feel of Chris Stumkey, just to get an opportunity to be with in a professional environment, and that to me was what Canberra had to offer. And now I look at the AIS. We got the best facility here in all of Australia. I don't see any Indigenous kids rolling up in there, having the opportunity to play in that environment under the best coaches in Australia. To me, we need to really reach out. Now, I've paid, like I said, I don't want to keep singing my own praise. I might sound out of tune to these listeners, but You know, I go to every single state and territory in Australia. I don't know how many have done that, coaching kids, trying to find that next Patty Mills or Danny Morsu, Dathan Jawa, and enjoy, interactions. I've done it with the different organizations like Charity Bounce, in Alice Springs, and seeing kids on dusty dirt with no shoes on.
Mm-hmm.
And here we are promoting basketball and giving kids opportunities to go out on a concrete court and play with no shoes on. And I look at that and thought, I admire those kids. I see a couple of them go up and dunk with flat feet.
Yeah.
And the concrete is hot, and I'm looking at those kids thinking, wow, what an athlete. But you know what? They're not being an athlete for long. If they jumping up and down on concrete, pretty soon the next day, their feet hurt so bad, they come with a pair of socks on.
Mm-hmm.
Now that's where I think guys like Brian Curl and all, and I've done it as well, we go collect shoes for those kids, so they can have that opportunity to have their feet first and foremost protected, because that's where the game starts.
Yes.
And it's little things like that I think we can do a better job, trying to find those kids and bring them to the AIS so they can see the professionalism. And that's the way I was exposed. When my eyes opened up to seeing my first college campus, I was like, wow, I've never seen a gym like that. Now I'm going to go to work hard so I can get that opportunity. So that's the carrot. We need to dangle it for those young kids.
The NBA is doing that with the NBL right now. You learn so much from. So talk to CJ about that experience. Like and you alluded to it. It's something that I've said that I like to make the NBA where you are. So the idea is if you're at a local association, like I coach what we call an SBL team here, second division, state or regional tournament. But I said if you aspire to make the NBA, then you don't treat it any differently than you would if you're in the NBA. Like, why would you? So you take that approach to the game wherever you are. But then you've got, like you say, if you take that, like the NBL, and I'll let CJ speak to it, where you go to the NBA, and what does that teach? You walk in the door of the NBA, CJ, what do you see?
Well, you see professionalism all the way from head to toe, and that environment of how you're treated to how many people care for you. And I guess the first part of it is you need to find within yourself, or as you said earlier, it's one to get there, but you got to have it within yourself to push yourself. And if you can't treat every little stepping stone as though it's your NBA to get to where your goal is, then you can't get there to see this opportunity. And then once you get to the NBA, as you see over the time, there's some players that either take it for granted or, some just don't stick. And there's so many players that want that opportunity, and they have so many players and so many eyes out around the world that are able to see so many different players that are calling on the cell phone, and the amount of GMs and agents and assistant coaches that I can reach out and say, here's a kid you need to look at, or, what about this kid? And they're asking me questions. Who have you heard of this kid? Or what is your take? And that's that information that's all they're looking for to navigate what's best for that next player to come through that door, and to get this opportunity to, one, be treated as a pro and respected, and to give their best for that club, whatever they step into.
You've got young Will there at the moment too. He's knocking on the door of the NBA. Gibbo's doing a podcast for the NBL, I saw, so he's already moving into his next stint. Not that he'd probably like me to hear that. He's still got a season or two under his belt.
You got to stay put for a minute.
Yeah, that's it. He still can ball, so yeah, exactly.
I think this. I remember going back in the '80s. I think Chris Anstey and Luke Longley have sort of talked about it, whereby they never saw any NBA. They didn't know about it, and they basically wanted the opportunity to explore it, but it wasn't in touch. And I remember bringing out, when we moved to Perth, we went back to the States, and I bought a American TV and I bought an American VHS cassette recorder, and we bought a bunch of tapes and came back to Perth, and we called it our American room, because the TV's in there, nice TV, but it didn't have a satellite to play anything in Australia. So
I played the Australian VHS either.
No, I wouldn't even, just only US VHS.
Oh, yeah.
So then Kerry Stokes gave me the opportunity as the head of Australian Capital Equity I should say, he sent me on a project search and told me that don't come back until I bring a project. And he gave me all the platforms from which to work. I had his office in Dallas, Texas. I had his office in New York. And of course, you go back to what you know, Ernie Grunfeld, who CJ had the opportunity to catch up with. He was my high school opponent, and he became the GM of the Wizards.
Okay.
You know, he played professional in New York for the Knicks and Milwaukee Bucks. Long story short, he pointed me in the right direction, the NBA office, and I collected the rights of NBA Entertainment to bring all these tapes back to Australia and convert them to PAL, VHS. But before that, I just brought all the NTSC tapes, and I had every single Piston tape, Lakers tape, Come Fly With Me with the Jordan. And CJ, one day I'm coming from Tractors, he's got a line outside the house. Everybody's coming in to watch the tapes in the American Room. I'm like, hey, what's going on here? He's got to charge them $2.
I was going to say, did he charge them? Hustler.
Oh, yeah. Hey, I was trying to get my shoe game right. You know?
Yeah, that's good.
And that changed the face of Australian basketball. So a shout out to Kerry Stokes, also to Bob Williams, who was instrumental in bringing the Los Angeles Lakers. I think in my mind, that was the first connection with the NBA personally, where Michael Cooper and Mitch Kupchak came to Perth and stayed with us for 2 weeks. Later, when I won the championship, Dick Helm from the Cleveland Cavaliers came out. You know, this was ahead of the game, you know. And those guys then sent me to the States, as I mentioned, Kerry, to go and get that project done. And unfortunately, I lost my mom during that period, who was my guiding light, you know, and that kind of slowed my role in terms of really taking the next step. But, you know, we had that opportunity here in Canberra to get Magic to invite us to his former alma mater, Michigan State, and play with him. And it was kind of disappointing. We couldn't get any media coverage from Australia, but we got all the coverage in the U.S. because it was like Magic's final game.
Yeah.
I mean, gee, they were jumping out the rafters, and we had a ball, Doc. You can speak that with the Michigan State. We had to come back and play, and these guys, tell them about how y'all wasn't speaking to me on the way back, you know, because we lost to Brad, the coach.
Butler. We lost to Butler.
You lost to Butler, who was coached by Brad Stevens, from the Celtics. Yeah. So,
it was the high to the low of you playing with Magic Johnson, and you know he's the ultimate. And you know my dad, you know, it's his game, so he starts, and we all fill in a lane. I ain't seen players that played on that team run so fast in their lives, getting down the floor to get receive a pass from Magic, and then to get that bucket. So he finished with a quadruple double because he still had more turnovers too. And as the game going on, he was killing it. He was rebounding, doing everything, and telling everyone fill the lane. He picked up our plays very quickly, and that's how you know what a pro is, right? He walked in like we only had that day with him, so he got on the floor. What's this set here? Boom, boom, we go here. Okay, cool. Next set, boom, got that down pack. We had a few shots. He had to go do some other stuff, and he came back from the game all hyped and ready to go, and the boys were geeked, and once we got out and running, I remember sitting on the bench when I got subbed down, and I was like, you ain't gonna sub him out? He got 3 turnovers. Like, hey,
that's subbing out, man.
That's not how this works. Like,
I love how he keeps those stats, mate. He's like quadruple double. He remembers the turnovers as well.
He was beautiful, though. He looked after us after the game and told us what a pleasure. And he was actually coming to Canberra to play with us here. And he was looking forward to that. And, of course, we folded, you know, which was a real shame on that note. And that's, again, where Canberra, the capital city in Australia, had an iconic brand. The Cannons had won 3 championships in the 80s. Long-serving Herb McEachin, who's, you know, been an icon here in Canberra, was my assistant coach, and we had a chance to actually bring Magic here to revive our program. And all we had to do was just push the button. I raised $60,000 for us to go over there, and the guys couldn't believe it. They were like, "Oh, Magic? We ain't going there." I said, we got to get airfares and all that.
Enjoying the season. So
enjoying the season.
And like it is now to go play in the NBA game, which Kessler's and the NBL has done a great job of doing. Yeah. But
no, it was in season now.
Actually, it was our regular season. We'd already played a game, and then we went on the road, and obviously it takes a few days to get acclimatized. And we played that game. We won. We lost to Butler after hanging out with Magic all night. And we came in, and they were calling every knick-knack foul. Like we were so big and more physical than Butler. But they were legit.
Butler was good.
We thought they weren't very good, and like, well, you dudes, you some chumps, and you ain't that nice. But they went to the 4. I think Elite
8 that year.
Yeah, I think Elite 8 is probably more like it. But to see them get that far was amazing, and then for us to come back, it was to make our mark in the NBL and to show everyone that trip, even though we left during the season, that we can be that team that can. We're that team. We're competing for a title this year. And it just so happened that we never got a chance to finish that season and see where that would have gone. We played Sydney in the preseason that year up in Alexandria Stadium and lit them up in their building and with Chris Williams and Kavasi Franklin.
And we beat them in the regular season
Shane
as well.
Hill in the regular season up in Sydney. We gave them a little touch-up as well. But it was the beginning of the end for the club, but the beginning for Sydney and the pathway.
I have a question that came up earlier that I saw, and it's just popped in my head. Has there been any other father-son combos that have played together in the NBL?
Yes. Played together?
Together.
I don't know whether Brian Curl and Simon Curl actually coached and played together. Obviously, Andrew and Lindsay, they were iconic when they came into the league until Lindsay retired or stepped off, and Andrew continued to play. But
to play on court together?
Play together?
Yeah.
Not together.
Not together. No, I think there's never been anyone play together. No one played together. No.
We did it in the younger ranks, though. We did it in the
Junior Live SBL, and we were undefeated too until Doc had sent him off to college. We were good. We were actually good. That was probably one of the highlights of my life, because I had to go on the track and get myself in shape. Because CJ was like, you gonna make a comeback? I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna make a comeback. So what I did, I didn't tell them until I got myself about 2 weeks in training. And every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I used to go do my warm up, and then I'll run 4 100s and with a 3-minute break in between. Then I'll do 6 200s with 30-second break in between, and then I'll do 5 100s with 10-second break in between. And then when I got myself I'd done all of the vomiting and all that, and got that out of my system, I was kind of ready doing 200 push-ups. I was at 200 sit-ups and 100 push-ups, and then I called CJ up and
told K run as well.
And also that's right. And then the mile and a half run, 6 laps under 6 minutes. So I called CJ and them up after I'd gone through that for like 2 weeks. It's every Monday, Wednesday, Friday was the long stuff, and then short sprints on Tuesday, Thursday. Didn't touch a ball other than going to pool with Billy Wade, Wade. Shout out to Billy Wade. Anyway, I called CJ up and said, "Yo, man, why don't y'all come on out here and come run with me in the morning?" Shoot, them dudes got out there. They looked at me. I was in shape. I just sprinted by them. I'm like, "Come on, man, we got 30. We got to get going." They said, "Damn, he's 40 years old and he running like that." And we got in shape together. That's when CJ said, "Yo, all right, Pop, I'm down with you," And we went and blitzed the league. Everyone like, "Damn, father and son in the backcourt." Now, I don't know any other father and son that played it like that, but we were serious.
They can go check the stats if they disagree, but shoot, it's there. But that moment there for myself as a junior player, playing club basketball and playing for your state was amazing opportunity. And then to be able to be with my dad during that time and knowing that I'm going to go to college and start my own path. Like not that I was any shadow in WA, but I was always going to be. This is Cal Bruton's done all this, but one thing that he did teach me from that moment was how you need to, if you're going to be that person, you want to get and achieve what you want, then here's a stepping stone. Like at 40 years old, and I'm able to do this here and do this better than you. And it was degrading and deflating as much as I went home and was disappointed in myself and where I thought I was at and my ability to be able to handle this. Because on a basketball court, as you know, it's a different conditioning. And I was just short sprints and up and down. But as for being able to play a 40-minute game and to be able to maintain that really changed my way of thinking. And when I left, it was the driving force of, you know what, this is how I got to be. Like, if this is my goal, then you got to give it your all. And my dad made this platform for me, and he's gave me this avenue. And it's about me, but I'm also carrying the name that my father gave me, and my family has gave me their blessing. And now I need to go and strive to be great and give it my best. And whatever that may be, I'll be happy with. But I've got to go give it everything I got. And when I did that, I went to college, and I remember seeing my teammates. And when I go back there, Princess and myself went back there and see they retired. You know, I got a banner hanging up there. You walk down the steps in my junior college, there's a big picture of our team that won the championship. And it's, you know, one of those feelings that as much as I thought it was, I don't know how I did this, and this was the worst part of my life. As you go through it, as my father always says, and my mom says, it's like a cloud. You know, as much as you think that you're going through pain and you will never see the other side of this, like you walk through the cloud and it's just, you'll come out the other side. Mm-hmm. It's the fear that you build up in yourself and anxiety and things like that. And, you know, we ain't even touched on mental health, but that's a whole nother platform for another time. But it's that part of seeing that, you know what, I can't achieve it. And it's, once I did it, I wasn't willing to come back. Like I was like, I'm staying. There was less phone calls to my pop, to my mom. Like I'm living my life. You know, I'm living my best life. You know, I'm trying to graduate and do everything that I set out I was going to do. Where that initial start was, I need to go home. I need my mom.
Yeah.
And my dad was that, you know, that stick. Like, you know what? What you coming home to? You ain't got no bed. Your brother done took that.
You ain't got no room no more.
You ain't in the league. Like, they don't want, Wildcats don't want you. What you coming back?
And your little brother looking at you going, now I want to get out of here too. I want to go over and shoot, CJ's over there doing that. I need to get out of here too because you're too much on my case. And then I'm with Elliot. Yo, what you gonna do? You know. So what do? We go play in the SBL in the social comp together. So I got a chance to play with my two sons in the backcourt. I was a small forward. No. Austin at the point, Elliot at the two. He can't throw it in the ocean, but we D'ing people up full court. They said, "Damn, this team got a third of the Brutons sitting right there," you know. But that was my blessing going through basketball at that level and having all the kids come to the game. And we used to run these camps where we get 400 kids in Perth. And Austin had the little kids, the under 10s. Elliot had the under 14s. CJ had the under 16s. And I had the older, like Jordy Cullens and Richard Kabesic. All these guys went on to play in the NBL, you know. So that was a beautiful time there, and you know, I always got fond memories of what that transition, seeing my boys take off and go away in the big world, and get a chance to connect with my family in the U.S. because I was living here now, so you lose a little touch, and all of a sudden they now connecting with everybody and now coming back, so it was beautiful.
That's awesome, guys. By the way, official record for the podcast. 143. So it's still going. It's still going. So we'll start to wrap up. But I do appreciate you. It's a great story, and hopefully sometime we get to do it again. And if you're in the area, Cal, by all means, like you came to Murrayfield, so that's my space. So if you're up this way, I missed out last time. I had intended to connect with you the last time you were here, and you had one up at the coast, but I believe I had other obligations. I'm involved in sport as well, but if I know in advance, then I'll definitely catch up with you.
Elizabeth, shout out to Elizabeth Willis up there in Morriefield. They treated us beautifully up there, you know, and they provided a beautiful atmosphere for us to kind of deliver the clinic, and we had a great time with the Williamsons. Got to give a shout out to them.
Yeah, they're up this way.
Brad Williamson, you know, that Williamson family, I've been knowing them forever. And CJ played with Brad, of course, and Leon.
Yep. And against him.
And against him. And, of course, Jeff and I coached against each other in the State Basketball League when he was coaching Kalgoorlie. And to this day, you know, we old men, like I'm 65, and he claimed he's the big brother because he's 3 months older than me, right? You know, but he still comes from Sunshine Coast. Whenever I'm in Brisbane, he makes the drive, and he comes down, and him and his lovely sister, they basically just treat us like family. So that's what basketball does, I believe. Connects people.
Definitely connects us all, It's
so
a part of where we said everyone's connected. We appreciate what you're doing, Craig.
Thanks, Craig. Wonderful.
This is amazing. And congratulations on being able to connect us both together.
It was the first time. Ever.
First time you've done this, and your platform's great. What you do with the kids is amazing. Continue to do great things, not only on your podcast and on Facebook, but also out there with the kids when we return back to normality.
And
not to be a rival, but can you show us how to do this so we can actually?
It's well. I've always got fingers in multiple pies, and I'm doing a podcasting course, so I'll be teaching that in September. That's coming. And I've started a podcast network, and I've got podcasters coming on board. So that's my next thing. I did IT. So I'm I am professional basketball at the moment because I make all my income from basketball until COVID. But the thing is because I got so much time on my hand because I wound up my IT business that I basically was for 12 years. I was like, what's next? Like, that's my job now, so what's my hobby? So this became a hobby, but I'm seeing potential for it to become a business. So always looking at doing, but I will be running podcasting courses, but this whole video stuff is another level, but I will be teaching people eventually. I've got to put the coursework stuff together. But so it'll be something that, if you're up this way, I'll try and, if you know, or if I'm having one, even if you want to fly up and come and stay with CJ or even myself, and I'm happy for you to sit in and do the course for sure. But I think it's something that a lot of people right now, given they're stuck, are getting into podcasting. But I think that they'll get out soon as they go back to work. But it's certainly fun. I like it. It's fun. That's the thing. Look, if to those that are watching, I'll do my shout outs and everything in the sense of please make sure you follow people with a passion. Next 2 weeks, I'll have more basketballers. I don't always have basketballers, but I think Mitch McCarron, if all goes well and the stars align, he said he's good for next week, but things can change. But he said, and then you mentioned Nick Kay earlier, and from Perth. So the following week he said again should be. So they're in the pipeline. Hopefully, if not next week. I did try to get Big Will Magne, but he's a little camera shy, I think. So he sees what
He's big time right now. You know.
He is big time right now.
He's growing into his shoes, but he's a good kid. Continue to do good things, man. It's that part of families and connecting. Obviously, everyone being indoors it's hard for everyone, right? And now we're allowed to get there's a little more restriction for looseness for us to get out and about. But it's understanding that for our loved ones and the people that you're in the house with, you have to appreciate them a little more, because normally you walk in and out of the house and my wife, you're doing different things, and she's looking after the kids, and I come in and I've got to finish my work, and she's doing her work, and business building design, and it's how you manage it. It's to appreciate each connection that you have in the house, and from your kids to your loved ones and your friends. You still got to stay connected, even though you're behind closed doors. Doesn't mean that you can't reach out and make sure that they're okay, and we should continue to do that. I think it's great to have the platform. Sometimes just showing up and just giving them that love, just to let them know that you're thinking of them is clearly a big key.
Yeah.
I just to finish up,
absolutely
definitely got to give a shout out to my better half. She's my rock, Julia Delava. Shoot, without her, man, my stuff would be kind of out in the street, a little bit around the corner. you know, or in the back of my car with a whole bunch of sheets and pillows. Nah, not really, but no, that's my girl, man, and she come. I have to share. She's come from Macedonia. Never spoke a word of English when she came here. Was bullied all the way through. Now she's the executive at the Australian Research Council. Who again, she's the champion of the indigenous program there, and looks after all these young trainees coming in. And man, she's an accountant. So whenever the money just start to really roll in, I got somebody to count it.
That's it. Yeah. Well, hopefully you are reinventing to come out of this crisis, and there's some money to be made. But look, I think hopefully we will come out of it, and Bullets will be you back in full swing.
Fingers crossed for everybody. Yeah.
Get in Will's ear for me, CJ. Tell him it's something he's got to get used to the media stuff. I'll handle him with care. I know Will. I was assistant with Doggy with Wayne Larkins when he was a young lad. So
he used to live with us.
Oh yeah.
Well, I should say live with us.
Yeah.
He spent quite a bit of time in Geelong.
Oh yeah. Of course. Yeah. So Doggy actually had Will at Nudgee College, so he took him from the rugby union to the league, and that year was the under-14s was the first time Will was there. So I used to do individuals with young Will, and so I've tried to get in his ear to actually to try and get him in front of the camera, but I don't. I think he is camera shy. Absolutely. But look, it's good to see him going through and doing what he's doing, because I know how his journey, and like a lot of people probably know his journey,
things like that. Yeah.
but they don't all see it, and it's not natural for he works his ass off is what I'll say. He's got athleticism, and he's had injuries that he's recovered from, like a slight one which he had as a junior, but he is working his butt off for this right now, and everyone wants it for him. That's the other thing too, is I think that people genuinely feel he's a level or going to be a level above what we've seen produced for some time.
He's special. He's very special.
I will say about Will is the way that he's a student of the game, and knowing that we all grow up at different levels of learning, how to handle the ball, how to shoot a ball. He was a gifted athlete, and he's been able to, by the skill set of learning it and picking it up and putting in the extra work and working on his body and understanding his body and who he is, he's now turned into a player that we saw in him, but now he's in that position. He's also not too big to say that I'm better than everyone. I'm here. He knows who he is.
Yeah.
He knows how he got there. You need talent around you to be successful, but he's also, his skill set is something that you don't see. Like last person I saw like that was James Crawford. So, Will's ability to impact the game.
He's not done.
Take that back.
He's haven't done. Yeah,
it was James Crawford when I grew up.
Yeah.
He showed me when we went up and watched him at the Spartans. We were all there, Austin, CJ, and I. Like CJ said, "Yo, you got to come see this kid, Will." And he sprained his ankle in the game, and I was like, "Oh man!" And he limped off. He pushed off. He crawled, pushed himself off. He was like devastated, and that was it. And I was like, "Dang, I came to watch this kid." And then I watched CJ bring him on the road trips. He was traveling, and then I would go meet them while they doing the shoot around, and Will Magnay was there, and CJ had him going through all the little routines and getting his shots up, and the other big fella, Chandler. 7 foot.
Sammy Mack was out there. Oh, Tyrell,
yes. And then I looked at Will when he played here, and I went, "Oh my God, this dude! Ain't no such thing as white man can't jump." This dude was blocking shots and dunking. I thought, "Oh, he's special." And the only other person that reminded me of that is James Crawford, and James Crawford is recognized around as the best athlete ever in the NBL history. I think Will Magnay is on that par. The way he.
Well, Simon Dwight was up there too.
My bad. Yeah, Simon Dwight. Yeah,
yes.
Don't take anything. Sam McKinney was an athlete too. Come here, man. I gotta do this. This is my next project, but he's arriving. This is Brooklyn. He's named after where I was born. This is Brooklyn Bruton. BB's in the house. I'm sending him up there, CJ, so he can get straight, you know.
Bring him up. Come on up here. Take this ass whooping. I ain't
Good on him.
So, guys, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you guys on, and happy to join and connect you two remotely as well. So, Canberra and Brisbane. And by the way,
I know those niches, right? That's CB, right?
Yes. So I noticed I've got to do a better job at explaining things to people because just a backstory for those that are watching. When I arrived, it was just these two that were meant to be on. But when I arrived, my Skype meeting had all these people lined up thinking they were going to be on. So it was a family. I explained to CJ that it is possible to bring those people in. There is the technology if I actually had a producer. So I keep shouting out that I need someone sitting in another room on the studio PC. Yeah, so that is doable, bringing people in and having a chat with them. But what I'll say is I really do appreciate you guys giving of your time and sharing your stories and your journeys, and hopefully inspiring the next generation and bringing memories to those who already have shared some of your journey in the past to have the throwbacks. I know just my little stint with you, Cal, at super camps and things like that is just the memories are there because I know what it was like in that era and some of the people that I got to interact with to learn from, because even though I was coaching, I was still a player and I was trying to get all your guys' knowledge. So I was between my sessions, I was knocking, I was talking to you guys. I think Uthoff was there. I'm pretty sure Rucker the second year was there, and I asked him, he did a lot of one-hand shooting stuff, and I was I was trying to work it out and spoke to him, and he told me his routine before pre-game and things like that. You guys might not remember me, and you might not remember that, but I do. And I impart it to my athletes to this day, things that everyone taught me. Bevo took me for my level 1 the first year of that camp. So that's the history. So you guys, whether you realise or not, and CJ, you're at a camp that I ran with Dave Oliver, the big O. It was actually, it was that was my camp. He hijacked it with his shirts.
Yes, he does.
So he said he and Leroy, he's like, Hey Craig, I'll organise the shirts. Don't worry about the shirts. so he rocks up. So
Oliver camp.
Yeah, so the Big O camp it became. So it was actually an Ozfish camp back in the 90s, and CJ come up. CJ, I think Leroy had a broken finger. He'd broken his finger. He had it in splint. Right. And Sid came up. I was playing with Sid at the time because I was a senior rep. Sid Mines, yeah. So CJ was up there, and some of the girls I coached were just hanging off him. I've got photos of all that too, by the way. I still have photos. CJ, there was this.
You have to show me next time I see you.
Dude, I coached a team of girls. I coached several girls teams in my career and decided that wasn't for me because every experience I had was just, I couldn't deal with the dynamic. It was just, I was lost with them. But one of them, we went to the Bullets as a pre-season for they had a McDonald's Cup, it was called at the time, and we had your locker room, the Bullets locker room at the convention centre, and and the girls were in the locker room, and this one girl that absolutely loved CJ, and I reckon I got multiple photos of this girl in history with CJ because she just lapped up your son. It's like, I swear she got to marry him, and he had the hair, like he had the hair going. Yeah, brave.
I'll share one quick one. Dave Oliver flew. I went to States with my wife. We were going to actually work in the camp in Michigan State. And I went to Portland to see my best friend where CJ played with the Trailblazers. So Scotty Rodder, my homeboy from New York, and Donnell Valentine, who played for the Trailblazers. So we all had a little. I get the call from Dave Oliver. Yo, man, are you coming back through San Francisco? I said, no, I'm actually going to L.A. He go, nah, come on, man. You got to come through San Francisco. I'm running the camp. I'm bringing Leroy and CJ over. And I'm like, what? They actually coming to San Francisco. Like, he go, yeah, but, how much you going to charge, So I said, Dave, I can come through, man. That's all right, but, yeah, you're going to have to pay for the flight that we're going to lose out on going to L.A. You got to fly me to San Francisco. All of a sudden we there. Here comes CJ and Leroy. I couldn't believe it. Like, wow, we all here in San Francisco. Meanwhile, we running the camp. It's supposed to be his camp. We actually delivering the camp while he's getting his hair braided. He's sitting on the side. He got the girls braided.
That's classic.
He was a special cat.
He was, dude.
I had to chase him. Yo, you didn't pay for that flight jet, bro.
I played with him, sitting him with teammates. That's how I knew him. So he actually, when we had that camp, we were doing it together. It was a thing to do it together, and we got the bullets up, and we had Leroy, yourself, I think Roger Smith came up. I was meant to have Honeyman, and I think instead of Honeyman, Wayne Doggy came up. So you guys attended the camp. I paid for these guys to come up. It's like here's like I was cash in hand. I think I gave you a bonus, CJ, too. I think I gave you guys more than I did at the time.
I hope I did a good job.
Yeah, you did. Look, man. It was honestly, we had 100 kids rock up to meet you guys, and this is the thing you were talking about earlier. Is like I think there needs to be. I know that whenever the Bullets have done anything in the past for myself, it is absolutely amazing and appreciated because they're stretched and there really needs to be something a bit more grassroots connected at the NBL level, I think, because from a resource and a monetary point of view, one team with a small community team can't do it all and finance it all. When the clubs are struggling themselves, there's got to be a system out there that can work. And I think all these academies that pop up, everyone feels threatened by them, but I think they're the answer. I actually think they're the answer to the problem. I think all these coaches are coming and going and parents of kids. I think the association should be paying academies to run skills. And then, because that's, we're all in a professional space, and the associations just, they put their parents on the kids and let the kids, because we lack in some areas the skills at the association level. It's a resource thing. It's a resource thing.
Yeah. And you just need someone to coordinate it. So I'm that guy.
That's it. You? So I think the problem is we don't reinvent the wheel that often, and we think everything, the status quo is fine, but the world changes around us, and if we don't change with it, the people I've spoken to, I don't want to get into the political side of it, but I speak to Sid Mines, I've spoken to D-Ruck, I've spoken to Pop, I've spoken to BK. Like, we speak to each other. Like, this is the thing, and we have the conversations, and CJ knows, like, it's the sport needs to grow. Here's the problem, I think people are protecting their own patch and their own pie. They don't realise if you grow the pie, there's enough for everyone, but they're too busy protecting as opposed to growing. And if you just embrace the sport and don't have the rivalry, it will shoot off. It's just everyone's stopping everyone from doing everything. Everyone feels threatened. It's just ridiculous. That's my pedestal. It wasn't where I wanted to go with it, but that is my pedestal. That's
good on you. Well, keep going, Craig. You, like CJ said, I think you've done a wonderful job just reaching out to CJ, and then CJ reached out to me, and and you then recalling how we got together. Now, I think, we done broke the record like big time, haven't we?
That's because I started to speak. See, you shouldn't have let me open my mic.
But that to us is what it's all about. Whoever's left online and they get a chance to hear it. I know one of my bosses and all the family all were tuning into it. So not sure who's left, but I'm sure my phone, I've been seeing it, it's lighting up all the time.
Nice,
so
bro.
This has been a beautiful thing. So thank you.
Thank you. And make sure if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please subscribe to catch up. These videos will stay up. They'll stay up on Facebook if you want to share them to groups that you're in, if you want to share them to family or just message it privately to family, if you want to engage in the comments with anyone. I have noticed some comments are geared around, will you guys do stuff? And some of those individuals are the guys that I was talking about that don't necessarily have never coached before. So just, just be aware that not everyone who's in the group is in it for everyone else. But I'll let you decide that. I'm just giving you a heads up that you go through the comments, recognise who you recognise. If you want to apply those comments to, answer a question we've missed, because there have been questions, please take time to both do that. And feel free to share. If you haven't, for the guests watching, if you haven't liked People with a Passion, we'll have more basketball chat next 2 weeks. and also subscribe to the YouTube channel if you have been watching on YouTube and you haven't yet subscribed. I do other interviews, so this is the live stream on a Thursday night. I also interview people about their passion. That is my show, People with a Passion, and that's pre-recorded, and I've spoken to some very amazing people across all different spectrums and spaces. I just spoke with the guy who started the sporting memorabilia movement in the 90s, which is Brandon Steiner, and he now has Collectibles Exchange. Worth looking at, CJ, if you're interested, because he connects athletes directly to buyers for their signatures. He used to have Steiner memorabilia, but unfortunately, as happens with business, is he arrived at work one day to have security escort him out because he no longer owned the company after 30 years. So he's disrupting now. So he's because they bought him out, like someone sold their shares and he no longer had the company. So he's disrupting now, and he used to be the middleman. He bought Yankee Stadium and sold the bricks and things as merchandise and things. That's the guy. But amazing story of entrepreneurialism. But if you're chasing Kobe signed authenticated basketballs or Jordan signed basketballs, they're all up on collectibles, collectibleexchange.com. So that's a bit of an ad for him. But he's going to change the way sports memorabilia again, second time in his history. But go and watch the video. You guys, it'll give business. So that's up on YouTube, People with Passion. Thanks for being here. We'll catch up we'll do it again down the track, no doubt. Thanks, guys. Take care.
Got it, bud. Thanks,
Take care. All right.